Good afternoon. This is Allie G coming right off that court date for Tony WIcklace. This was his sentencing hearing. So the purpose of the hearing is because the sentencing was being okay. Ooh, a lot happened, so I just had to take a breath and try to recollect everything from my notes that I was frantically taking. So this was because Jeremy Plesha, Tony's attorney, and Tony were contesting the sentencing based on the psychosexual evaluation. So Soma Yarni, who was the prosecuting attorney, was not there due to some personal issues. And so Corey Tennyson was in for the prosecution. Today, he said that he received the psychosexual report. So they were going to go over that. They were going to go over the pre-sentence investigation, that even though that was not formal testimony, and they were going to read the victim impact statement. Corey Tennyson really made a point. There was like, we do not allow recording. There is no recording. It's like, you can't record it. Like, you physically cannot do a meeting and record it. It'll tell you no. Or there are parts I wish I could record, but it is illegal. I'm not going to try to do that. The judge said that there'd be questions for recommendation of sentencing. They're going to look at the pre-sentence investigation and the psychosexual. Okay, so first, the prosecution goes first. The psychologist or psychologist who did the evaluation, her name was Dr. Montana Morin. She contracts with Ramsey County, and she solely completes psychological evaluations or psychosexual evaluation. Went over all of her background. She is well qualified. There is also a document in Tony's record that gives all her qualifications. And no, the report is not in that record. It is simply a list of her qualification. So she said that she does not do these evaluations unless she has a plea or that they have already been found guilty. So her process that she takes a full history based on records. Does he have the risk to reoffend? What the treatment needs are. So she and Tony met in person on March 4th, 2022. She said that he has a low average range of cognitive functioning. Looked at his family history, his sexual history, his mental health history. She said he had his own version of events. She did do a personality assessment. The information that she looked at was from the criminal complaint. And then the prosecuting attorney asked about sexual assault. The doctor said he denied committing offenses as outlined. He denied that he followed the victim. He says that she came to him. He arrived on the scene because he's been listening to the police scanner, and he arrived before the police did. He went to the landlord and asked if he could help the landlord remove Cass from the victim, Cass, from the premises. And he said that he was doing this to post the events on YouTube to make money. When asked if this was common to deny charges, the doctor said yes. And the doctor recommends group treatment over individual treatment because the research shows effective confrontation with other members in the group, the more accountability. Additional recommendations was not to be allowed to have a police scanner or any equipment problematic in this case. That isn't unusual. And also her recommendations were to obtain employment and stable housing. The prosecutor asked if he had inserted himself as an authority figure. The doctor had watched the body cam of the victim and said that the body cam did not change her recommendation. It had no bearing on her recommendation. Said that Tony did admit to touching the breast and to the tasing, but he did not admit to pulling on his penis and masturbating. Do I have that correct? Because it's saying he's not admitting to that. Okay. So then Plesha questions her, and this was just a go around. Oh my gosh, this is just a go around. Okay, so Plesha's whole thing was watching this body cam to discredit the victim, and what the victim says is not true, and that it's all a false narrative, and the complaint is not correct, and therefore the psychiatrist is making her recommendations off this complaint. And so asked if she had reviewed the video offense, if that would make a change. He asked that she had described Tony as a large male presenting in an intimidating manner. The doctor said he wasn't hostile, he was out of touch with what occurred, and that he was not taking into account his transgressions, that he was moving around a lot. She said that he was intimidated from his size, the way he moved, that he didn't follow directions to wear a mask, and he kept taking his mask off. So he didn't bring a mask to the evaluation. And then when she gave him a mask, he did put it on. He did comply with that, but then he kept pulling it down. And so Plesha asked, so you consider anyone that's 6 feet or taller to be intimidating? She reiterated, he came in, he was moving around, he wasn't following direction. Okay, and then she says, when in video, okay, this is how my notes say, that Cass tried to escape advances. Okay, that's what I have in my notes of what she said. There was a lot of discussion on whether the doctor had said escape advances or escape vehicle, because the complaint clearly said that she did not want to get out of the car because she did not know where she was, and she still wanted that ride to her dad's in Mahtomedi. So then the prosecutor objected to this. The doctor was instructed to watch the first 23 minutes of the body cam. The body cam was an hour and a half long. And keep in mind, this body cam is of the police questioning Cass. This isn't of the event. There's no record of the event, of the assault. There's no record of that. Tony didn't videotape it. So again, Mr. Plesha, Tony's attorney, again says so she tried to escape. According to the complaint, it says the opposite. And then the prosecutor objected again, and then the judge said that she was instructed to watch the first 23 minutes. Had she watched the whole thing? And the doctor did get flustered. She said she was accustomed to written documentation and being able to read things. The doctor did remember that she didn't want to get out of the car. And then Plusha says, "Do you believe the truth?" And she says something about the veracity of a statement. And Plusha says that probable cause is based on a false narrative. He says that the doctor is not answering questions. And then the judge says, "Yes, she is answering your questions. Ask the next question." Because even an answer of "I don't remember" it's an answer. Okay. So the prosecutor said, I don't know what this says. That looking at something about an excerpt of investigation. Oh, okay. Now I remember. Okay, so the prosecutor was saying to Plusha that he wants her just to look at an excerpt of the investigation, then asking a basis and asking more of a basis, like more statements made by the victim after, after the initial report, evidence, so many other things besides what's in the probable cause. Plusha said the defense has chosen their information. They've chosen their strategy. This is my strategy. So Plusha said that, asked if she'd reviewed part of the video of the victim was throwing property out of Tony's car. This is the first I've heard of this. And then he asked the doctor, "What is the state of mind of Cass?" She answered correctly. The doctor wasn't going to do an evaluation of Cass because that's not who she is evaluating. And this is Plusha's whole defense, that because of the victim's state of mind, she wasn't giving a reliable report. He asked if she appeared to be distressed, and the doctor agreed from the body cam that she appeared to be distressed. Of course she appeared to be distressed. She had just been tased. There was a taser prong still in her back. She had just been touched sexually. Of course she was distressed. I have been sexually assaulted before. There's a lot of distress. Does that mean that the report's unreliable? No. And then Plusha says the victim was talking about being sex trafficked, and the prosecution objected, said, "What's the relevance in this hearing?" And Plusha said that there was a statement that if he wanted to go get a prostitute, to go to Lake Street. So the doctor says that it's in the criminal complaint. So Plusha says that the actual events is that Cass went to go get in the car, and Tony said, "What are you doing?" So that's all Plusha's saying. The complaint's wrong. The victim did not recollect any of these details correctly. So, okay. And then there was a question of Tony's history. So, when Tony was a juvenile and he was placed in a juvenile facility for a year because of fighting. And um, and the doctor kept saying that's one of the reasons that he, has a history of aggressive behavior. Ooh, Lordy. And Flesha says, well, his mom is present. She can comment on the placement. She is, the doctor says that she's familiar with the facility in Austin and no, that she didn't have the report. He asked if she recorded the interview. Oh, Plesha is just like all these other First Amendment auditors. Did you record it? Did you record it? Well, it didn't happen if it wasn't on video. Oh my gosh. She says she takes copious notes. And then he wanted the actual statements that Tony made, word for word, because he self-reported about being in the facility in Austin. So no, she said that was her summary. So she doesn't keep the notes. They're destroyed as soon as she makes the report. At this time, usually when I do Zoom calls, I do a speaker view so I can see the face, big face of who's talking and all the little faces are up there. And at this point, before this point, I had decided to just pin Tony as the face because I wanted to look at his face as everything was being said because I wanted to see his reaction. So when the doctor said that she didn't ask about the facility in Austin that he offered, he shook his head. The doctor said that he denied that he wanted to have sex with the victim, denied touching the breast. He denied following her from the site where he went to listen to the police scanner. And then Plesha asked if she had written this in this report. And I don't know, she just said something about denied committing offense. Okay, my next note I don't understand. Okay, he asked if she wrote in the report that he denied that there was no mention of the touching or the request for sexual services. The doctor said he denied the criminal complaint. It's in the criminal complaint. She didn't state that because it's redundant. If you're saying he denied what was in the said. Bob Mazzulli, thank you for joining me on this live chat. If you were there, you have something to say, I will certainly share that. Bob says Tony is definitely still delusional. Yes, he is. So then Plesha asked, how many questions did you ask him? And she couldn't guess or recall, and she wasn't going to say unless she actually knew. In the report, she said that he doesn't have contact with his family, that he doesn't have a relationship with either parent. His dad is deceased. I wonder if everyone knows that. I had already done a video on that because I didn't know his dad passed away. His dad passed away in 2020. That was never mentioned in his family history. Tony brought that up, why he would say, I don't have a relationship with either parent when his dad is not living. He said that the doctor said that Tony told him that he has a 3-year-old half brother that he doesn't get along with. All right. So Plusha is saying that her versions of events do not line up. Okay, so he has one prior record. In 2019, he was charged with interfering with transit. And Tony denies that he was interfering with transit, that he had just been in an accident, and that that interfering with transit meant that he could have just been stopping in front of a vehicle. Bob is saying, doesn't make much sense to me. I don't have a relationship with my deceased father. I got you there. That's a whole other story. I mean, some people will like continue a relationship and like still talk to that person. I had a brother that died, so sometimes I still talk to him and be like, are you there? It's a pretty one-sided relationship, but there are times where I do feel his presence. But this does not seem to be the whole situation with Tony. That what is going on. It's just okay. So then get into this whole conversation about what is aggressive behavior. Oh my gosh. It was so hard for me just not to be like, okay, let's look at all the videotape evidence of this aggressive behavior. I can prove it. Why are we not bringing any of this into account? I mean, it shows a pattern of aggressive behavior in his videos, and there are clips still out there. So as this was being discussed, Tony mouthed something to himself. Don't know. Bob is saying my brother died too, but it's different. It is true. Yay. We're in the Brothers That Died club. Not a club that I would want people to be in. Anyway, so Plusha is saying that she considered offenses that were dismissed, that because he brought up it's his arrest when Officer Moore arrested him. I think there's a video still out there of this. I tried to find it, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, when he was arrested for disorderly. And even though Tony's video isn't out there, I think that it was put out there by someone else. So I don't know if that video still exists out there. Yeah. Okay, Bob, now we're going to talk about how Tony is completely delusional. The doctor said that Tony described himself completely devoid of problems. And there was more, but I just couldn't get that all written down. All right. And then Plusha is drilling her on what is considered aggressive behavior. And she says he was fighting in high school in Austin. He has a history of being diagnosed with attachment disorder and oppositional defiant disorder. And you don't get those diagnoses without being aggressive. This is true. I've taught children with attachment disorder. They were very aggressive. I've also taught children with oppositional defiant disorder. And in adulthood, that turns into conduct disorder. Then Plusha's like, well, how many fights does he get in? And she's like, I don't know, but he said fights, plural. And there was something about one of the tests that she gave and said that the test is only given if he was a repeat offender. Something about that whenever these charges come up, there's unrelated victims and stranger victims. So is that alluding to like he's done this before? We just don't know about it? I don't know. So one of the criteria because this is a risk assessment if he is going to reoffend. And so one of the criteria that would point to more likely to reoffend is that he, I guess if you've never lived with a lover for more than 2 years, then you're more likely to reoffend. And Tony has never done that and he's only 21. So it's reasonable that he hasn't lived with a lover because he is only 21. Simon, I didn't know you lived in Australia. Are you just visiting? Simon Shorthouse, one of my staunch supporters, commenting and watching every video. I appreciate you. He said, "Hi, Allie. Dang, I missed the start. It's early morning in Australia." Don't worry, it's all recorded. And then Plesha asked her, "Well, do you think it's unacceptable to live at home at 21?" She says no. And then Plesha says, "You do live in Australia, Simon?" Huh. Okay. And then Plesha says, "Well, he has no high school diploma. He's only had an opportunity to have minimum wage jobs at Culver's, McDonald's, Walmart." And then the doctor said something about that he also makes a video for TikTok for money. Does he really have a TikTok? He had a YouTube. We all know about the YouTube channel, but does he have a TikTok? Does anyone know about this? What's his TikTok? So then Plesha says, "So you think you think someone that's antisocial is going to be on social media?" Okay, let's get rid of these misconceptions about what an antisocial behavior disorder is. An antisocial behavior disorder does not mean that you're antisocial, doesn't mean that you're not around people or that you wouldn't be on social media. Antisocial disorder is the failure to conform to social norms. That's what that is. So Plesha, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what antisocial behavior disorder is. You're talking about being antisocial. And yes, you can totally be antisocial and have this whole social media life. That does not mean you're interacting with people in real life. It's not the same. Okay. So what do I have here? So he asked her how many times has he been arrested? And she only knew of 2 times. So a conviction record is not the same as an arrest record. So we know that he has been arrested more than 2 times. I don't know how many times that he's been arrested in while he's been cop watching. And the doctor says he's a repeated liar. He uses aliases. I don't know where that came in that he uses aliases like as part of this evaluation. He certainly uses aliases on YouTube. He has a ton of sock puppet accounts. He's had sock puppet accounts where he's commented on my videos. He's bothered Steven, Capital Transparency, with these aliases, and Steven also knows about these aliases. Yes, Steve, I'm mentioning you. Okay, so then Plesha said the Cass could have just not gotten in the car. Oh, I do not like Jeremy Plesha. That's victim blaming. So shut up. So you're blaming her because she got in the car, and she could have just not gotten in the car, and the whole thing would have been prevented. Ugh. The doctor pointed out that the day of the assessment, he did not want to come in. 40 minutes before the assessment, he tried to reschedule. And she says that he spends his time in the basement on the computer. And this is true. That he's not living life in a responsible manner. And that he has a failure to plan for the future, that he's not planning for himself. And then again, Plesha is saying that she didn't record it. No, she didn't record it. So his risk was assessed at moderate to high. Then Plesha said, why would he proposition a woman that's twice his age? And that was my face in court. A woman twice his age? I thought this was a juvenile. I thought this was under 16. I do not know how I could have been wrong about this, but I was completely wrong about it. So all of my statements and all of my videos about this being under 16, and I tried to look back at all my documentation. I tried to look at all, where did I see this under 16? And this was before I started to do the research in Hennepin County and Ramsey County. I don't know, but I was completely wrong. I will admit to my wrongness, and I will make comments on my other videos as I can that I was completely wrong. So this additional year and, getting time for this penalty does not apply. Now, the fact is, why would he proposition someone twice his age? Okay, so you're saying that there's no way that a 20-year-old could be interested in a woman in her 40s. Okay, I am a woman in my 40s. I've been propositioned by a lot of people in their 20s. That has nothing to do with anything. Oh, she's over 40. Why would he proposition her? So he didn't do it. That makes no frickin' sense. Tony propositioned me. And I'm well into my 40s. That happened, 2 years ago? I still have the screenshots. Okay. Bob says I wasn't wrong. I was incorrect. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, she's not under 16. Then the prosecutor brings up about recommending treatment if anything about the video or anything else would have changed the doctor's mind on her recommendation of treatment. And she said no. And it was brought up something about the tasing, and Tony said something to himself. He did that a couple of times that I saw. So then the prosecutor says they have no more witnesses. And the defense has no more witnesses. And then we took a break. And when we came back, there was a message in the chat that was only meant between the prosecutor and the defense attorney. However, everyone saw it. It was about something that she wasn't on the witness list. If she's on the witness list, she should have been sequestered, and that you can go ahead and call her and I'll just object. So what happened was the defense wanted Tony's mom to testify about being in the Austin facility, about Tony being involved in fights, because he says that nothing Dr. Morin said is true, that Tony's mom, that's her son, that's her life, she lived it. But the thing is that Tony's mom had been in the courtroom the entire time. She was easily identifiable to me at the beginning because in the background was the same wallpaper that initially Tony's background was that wallpaper. He eventually moved. But if you are testifying in a case, you cannot hear the testimony of other witnesses. You are brought in give your testimony, and then go out. That's not gonna. So Plesha, the judge is like, said the mom can say anything, whatever she wants in sentencing, says mom wasn't on the witness list, she's not going to testify. And also points out that this isn't a trial. And it wasn't a trial. This was a hearing. This was a sentencing hearing. So then Plesha gave his final arguments. He wanted the judge to completely disregard the report, says it is completely unbiased or biased, that the doctor was unwilling to answer his questions, and she based her report on WIcklace being violent. Ooh, hold the phone. Violent? That word was never mentioned in the entire hearing until Plesha said it. The word was aggressive, Jeremy. Aggressive. Whew. And on the note of aggressive, I've looked at a couple of clips that are still out there. Let's put all of those together. I don't know how to do that because I'm terrible at video editing, but looking at other people's videos and like doing a supercut of Tony being aggressive. If anybody knows how to do that, let me know. Okay, so then he's talking about only at the one other conviction in transit. They used a dismissed offense. Says that mom knows that he has a history of fighting because he was bullied and he was placed in Austin. Oh, this is what mom says. He has no history of fighting. He was bullied because of his mental health, his ADHD, and depression. And going off his medications. So then he's talking about Tony's troubling past. The doctor talking about Tony's troubling past, his psychotic delusions, that he has a lack of empathy, saying that he's intimidating because he didn't wear a mask and because it fell below his nose. And then again, more victim blaming, that Cass was talking about sex. Oh, so many things. Okay, so here's where I got fuzzy. Somebody that was there, Skido was there. If you heard this correctly, I think I was just so worked up at this point. So the original count of second-degree assault with a dangerous weapon that was being dismissed. And then for count 2, the court is asking for a stay of execution, 365 days stayed. And this is where my phone went dead, and then I have to take notes on there. Okay. And so they were asking for 90 days stayed. The what now became a 5th-degree assault, which is the maximum penalty for that. So then the victim impact statement was read. I didn't take a lot of notes during this because I really wanted to listen to that, and I really wanted to watch Tony as this was being said. So the victim said that her safety and security has been completely threatened. She no longer feels safe and secure. She's afraid of retaliation. Says that she has social anxiety, that she doesn't want to go out, that her mental health has been damaged, and that she's now, I think, in treatment. She said that this plea deal is not fair. The original charge of using a dangerous weapon is fair. So she's appalled at that. So this whole time that this victim impact is being read, Tony looks down, his eyes are closed, and he's pursing his lips. And I thought that he was nodding, but he wasn't nodding. He must have been on his phone because it was actually just the camera moving. So the prosecution is asking for what do I have? I have written down YouTube. And then I have written down something illegible. About him wearing body armor, that either he's going to get hurt or hurt someone, about the tasing, about him not being allowed to have a taser. It's a no-brainer. Asked about no illegal chemicals. That's a lot, no illegal chemicals. But also that he have no police scanner. And then there was something about a sex offender, and then something about associates and sex offender conditions. I just got really fuzzy. During this time when the prosecution is asking for what it wants, Tony is moving his mouth again. I think every time the word taser was said, he moved his mouth. Because I think it was then. So Plesha said it's a big deal to believe Dr. Morin. And that shouldn't believe anything she says. So then the judge took a minute. She came back with the sentencing. The judge admitted that he did not have a great hand in life, that he has dealt with a lot of traumas, a lot of circumstances, something about that he lived one place from the age of 3 to 12, and then he was taken out of that situation and put in a less ideal situation. From his dad's court records, it's determined that Tony may have been in foster care or was in foster care. She also said something about she can see that he is supported because his mother was at every hearing. Okay, I forgot this part. When the mom was asked to speak, during the sentencing portion, Judge Charles says, Alicia Guild, are you his mom? You're the only person's face that I can see. And I said, no, ma'am, no, Your Honor, I am not his mom. So when she says this, that his mother was at every hearing, even though I had already corrected her that I'm not his mom, I have been at every hearing. I show my face. I have my name on there. My name is not a secret. So it was just, I was like, no. I really don't think his mom has been on there. His mom didn't even have her name listed there. She was listed as observer. Now I know that she did show her face almost the whole time, but I had not seen his mom's face at any of the other hearings. There are always people there that are observers that are not showing their face. That's their choice. But why is she thinking that his mother was at every hearing? No, it was me that was at every hearing. Okay, so she finds him guilty. He gets 90 days stayed for the assault. He gets credit for 3 days because he was already in for 3 days. And I got really fuzzy on this. So she sentenced him to serve 20 days in Ramsey County. and a 10-day sentence to serve, which is community service. So I didn't see if this was part of the 20 days or if there was, if that's part of the 20 days. Said something about he already served 15, has credit for 3. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so the big question on does he have to go to sex offender treatment? The judge does not make that determination. So there is the pre-sentence investigator, which is a probation officer, makes that recommendation whether he goes to sex offender treatment. Or there's another program called Boundaries. He is says that can't use a 900 number, no chat rooms on the internet, nothing sexual. No use of the internet for any of those things, that the internet was going to be monitored. His 10-day sentence to serve are to be served within 108 days. And then they went back and forth about at what time he has to turn himself in. So Tony is working. He works at Speedway. And so the judge just does want him to keep his job. And so they finally agreed on August 22nd. Oh, my notes are out of order. I had to switch to this. So this is juicy stuff here. So this is Plesha speaking. He's talking, this is before he was actually sentenced. He says that he has parents with addiction issues. He has less than high school diploma, only minimum wage. That he, in this report, that he was portrayed as an outcast with his family. And he said he spoke to Tony earlier in the day. He was having lunch with his mom. He hangs out with his brother on a regular basis. He did agree with the prosecutor that Tony should not have a police scanner. There is no good end to that. So he agrees with them. And then Plesha says something about African Americans like to record the police. What does that have to do with anything? And what is your basis of saying that African Americans like to record the police? What does that have to do? And he's like, oh, because of George Floyd. Why are we bringing this in there? About, and he's saying it's good that Tony was holding the police accountable for doing his recording, saying that law enforcement doesn't like Tony. And then he was arguing that Plesha had thought they said no internet, and that to move on with his life, to better himself, he needs access to internet and telephone. And the judge clarified it's not no access to internet, it's monitored. Said that he would be out of place in a group setting because all he did was touch a woman's breast, and it wasn't like he forcibly raped someone, and other offenders would be talking about things that they had done that had nothing to do with what Tony did. So, all right, where are my notes? Okay, I'll go from memory on this one. So I don't have my notes on what Tony said. So Tony was given a chance to address the court, and thus he did. He said that he made bad decisions that night, that he regrets those bad decisions, and that he takes accountability for those decisions. He says that he wants to better himself, and that's why he's working. that's why he's working, and to do something, with his life, to be able to move out and have his own housing and not live with his parents. So, and then he says, I have not used the police scanner or followed the police since this happened. That's a lie. That is a lie. It's on videotape, Tony. Your favorite thing. I did bring up the video of it. I was able to find it. Let me see if I still have it up here. Yep, I do. There. That's it right there. Streamed live on January 26, 2022. Capital Transparency and Minnesota News Now were out recording police. They listened to police scanners. Tony was following them. How did you just happen to show up at a crime scene? I believe it was late at night too. And then he followed Stephen and Jason as they went down the road, and then Jason stopped, and then they spoke with him, and he was on Stephen's camera of him going live. And what happened to your YouTube channel? Oh, I just didn't want to do it anymore. So maybe he wasn't making a video, but he was still following police around. So that is a lie. Okay, so everything concluded. Everybody signed off. And it was just really hard for me because I wanted to say that's a lie. And this wouldn't affect his sentencing or anything else. But it's just like I have such a hard time when I hear false narratives being told, when I hear lies, that I'm like, that's not true. And I really just wanted to send the judge that clip, and I wanted to say something. I also wanted to say I'm not his mother. I'm the one that's been at every hearing. I'm not his mom. But I didn't think it was appropriate to say those things, so I logged off. So this is pretty exhausting. I just had a comment on another video. Had made a comment that I watched the sentencing. He doesn't have to register. He got off easy. Agreed. Because everything was stayed. And he was given the full amount. But that third degree being dropped down to the third degree assault being dropped down to fifth degree, which is nothing. It's a misdemeanor. That's ridiculous. That he wasn't charged with indecency for taking his penis out and masturbating in front of Cass. That's ridiculous. He should have had that charge. So those things. So I was thinking this would be my last video, and Tony, and we'll all be done, but we're not done, because guess what? There's transcripts of the court, so anything that I missed, those will be posted. Ooh, would they be posted for a hearing though? When something goes to trial, transcripts are posted. If there's a hearing, I don't know if transcripts are posted of it. Oh, dang it. But I will check on all those documents. I will check on all those things. August 22nd, I will check to see if he's reporting that day, see if there's anything in the documents about if he doesn't report. So there's still follow-up to do. Now that he has been sentenced, I will do my, continue making my videos for the research on Ramsey County. So this has been quite the afternoon, and this video is almost an hour. But thank you for those that chimed in. Simon, And thank you for the few people that have watched. So, all right. Have a good night, everybody.